I want to ask you, we've been talking about on the show about a couple of things. And one of the things we were talking about was back in February, for the first time since 1973, there was a top 10 men's singles ranking without a single-handed backhand. And we've also, on the women's side now, none in the top 100. So at the events you're playing, which is mainly 15Ks, 25Ks, these events that you're playing, are you seeing the single-handed backhand as a dying art at that level, or is it still something that we're still seeing a significant number of players?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that it is something that is slowly dying. It's definitely a lot more uncommon to come across a single-handed player these days across all levels. So it's not just the top 10, the top 100. It's going, all the way down the three tours, really. So yeah.
And what would be your way? So you're playing a single-hander. You're playing, let's say, Nottingham next week as an example, and you don't know much, but you know you're playing a single-handed player. How would you adapt the way you're playing and your identity to try and expose that?
Yeah, I would mix up the rhythm a little bit more shape, get them out of the hit zone. Because obviously most single handers are really good when hitting, from sort of waist. So getting them hitting up around their shoulders, using my slice as well. I also like to use my slice line to get them on the forehand on the run, which then opens up the court to then attack early into their backhand and look to sneak in. If you see them go for as soon as they open their racket face, I'm there to put away a volley. So yeah,
Yeah.
just keep mixing it up, really. Yeah.
Do you think is it fair to say that almost globally we would view a single-handed backhand as a weakness if we didn't know the player?
I think typically yes. Um, do I agree with that? Probably not. But I guess generally speaking, people probably think, oh, you use one arm, it's going to be weaker than two. But it all varies. But yeah, you typically think a single hand is weaker, but I mean, it all depends on the player, of course. You look at Wawrinka, I mean, one of the best backhands ever, and he's single-handed.
Yeah, you'd make a mistake, wouldn't you, going into play Wawrinka and thinking, right, I'm gonna expose this guy. And what about the versatility we see? We've just seen Musetti has just made semi-finals at Wimbledon. Obviously, Grigor Dimitrov's had a fantastic year. Certainly, one of the things I love about single-handers is the versatility they play with. You've got a great slice yourself, Finn, for a double-handed player, but quite often double-handed players maybe don't have the slice backhand to go alongside. Is that something that you see from the single-handers?
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. You look at Dimitrov, Musetti, Dan Evans, for example, obviously Fed, they definitely use more variety, like the slice, the drop shot, chip and charge. That's something I try and implement in my game. And like you said, slice is probably the best shot I have. So yeah, I do find tennis nowadays is a little bit not boring. That's a bit harsh, but I like watching players that
One
change
one
things up.
dimensional, one dimensional.
Correct, correct. I mean, take Rublev for an example. Imagine if he had a slice or better volleys, or how good would he be? He would have a slam by now. Obviously, his ball hitting is unbelievable, probably one of the best in the world, and it's got to him. It's got him where he is now. But if he had those extra things in his game, I think we would be seeing a slam champion for sure.